Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of ease, words to make the fighting cease. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me. Words are stupid, words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Concrete words, abstract words, words to tell you what to do. Words can put you on the run.
Whistleblowing and the retaliation that followed.
But first, what is whistleblowing? In California, Labor Code Section 1102.5 is the statute regarding whistleblowing. It protects employees who disclose information they believe reveals a violation of laws or regulations. It states, an employer or any person acting on behalf of an employer shall not retaliate against an employee for disclosing information to a person with authority over the employee or another employee who has the authority to investigate, discover, or correct the violation. On August 24th, 2021, the City of Los Angeles passed Ordinance 187134, a vaccine mandate requiring all city employees to be vaccinated or to seek a medical or religious exemption. Ordinances are laws passed by the city government in response to specific needs or situations. Ordinance 187134 was enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure the safety and health of both employees and the public. The process of introducing and passing ordinances in Los Angeles is governed by the city charter, specifically sections 249 through 253. The city charter serves as the constitution for the city of Los Angeles. It outlines the structure, powers, and functions of the city government, ensuring that all actions and ordinances comply with established guidelines. Section 249 through 253 define the procedure for how ordinances are introduced, debated, and ultimately passed. This step includes drafting the ordinance, presenting it to the city council, public hearings, voting, and official adoption. Compliance with the city charter is mandatory. Any ordinance, including Ordinance 187134, must adhere to these procedures to be valid and enforceable. Respecting the ordinance, I submitted a declaration requesting a religious exemption. While awaiting a decision, I was required to undergo twice weekly COVID-19 testing. I complied fully, meticulously documenting each test. I did all the required tests and recorded myself performing each one. After months of testing, I discovered that the tests weren't being picked up. For 2 separate weeks, I placed a Band-Aid on the outside of the collection boxes and verified that the tests were not being collected. Despite this, Human Resources Director claimed that I wasn't testing. On June 7, 2022, my direct line supervisor handed me a memorandum from the Los Angeles World Airport Human Resources Director. This memo had gone through my entire chain of command, threatening to send me home without pay. I felt that these actions were in violation of California Government Code Section 3304, subsection B, the Public Safety Officer's Procedural Bill of Rights, which states, no punitive action nor denial of promotion on grounds other than merit shall be undertaken by any public agency without providing the public safety officer with an opportunity for administrative appeal. By threatening to send me home without pay, without conducting a proper investigation or providing an opportunity for an administrative appeal, I believed that my rights as an employee were being violated. When informed that I was in violation of certain COVID-19 rules, I was unaware of any such policies. I requested specific documents outlining these alleged violations. In response, I was given 2 documents. First, the COVID-19 vaccination requirement exemption request procedures. Second, notice of mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy requirements while awaiting an exemption/appeal determination. These documents hadn't gone through the legislative process. They lacked signatures, effective dates, and authorship. The notice required employees to undergo COVID-19 testing while on duty and imposed a $65 fee per test. I believe this violated California Labor Code Section 2802, which states, an employer shall indemnify an employee for all necessary expenditures or losses incurred by the employee in direct consequence of the discharge of his or her duties, or of his or her obedience to the directions of the lawful authority of the employer. I conducted a public records request to obtain authenticated copies of these documents. No authenticated copies were available or provided, and the city's clerk's office confirmed they were not on file. Based on these factors, I concluded the documents were not official. The LAPD Police Protective Lead challenged the policy of charging employees for COVID-19 tests and requiring tests to be conducted while on duty. The case went to the Los Angeles Superior Court, where the judge ruled in favor of the employees, stating that the city's actions violated California Labor Code Section 2802. On August 11, 2022, I filed an EEOC complaint due to what I perceived as harassment and retaliation from the Human Resources Director, my supervisors, and the chain of command. 10 days later, on August 21st, my religious exemption for the COVID-19 vaccination was denied by the Los Angeles World Airport's Human Resources Director. On August 22nd, I reached out to the Chief of Police because my EEOC complaint hadn't been acknowledged, and I felt the retaliation was escalating. On August 23rd, the EEOC investigator responded to my complaint, but courtesy copied the subjects of the complaint, the Human Resources Director. I felt this was improper and raised my concerns. On August 25th, while discussing my complaint with the investigator, it was still not addressed. Instead, I was reported as having a psychological problem. That night, I was subjected to a psychological evaluation with LAPD's Behavioral Science Services. The doctor found nothing at all concerning. I was cleared and returned to duty, finishing my shift. After taking my regular scheduled days off on August 27th and 28th, I returned to work on August 29th at 5:30 p.m. That evening, I went back into the field and conducted an arrest of an individual for battery initiated by a private person. Shortly after, I was removed from the field and placed on administrative leave due to concerning statements I allegedly made during the phone call with the EEOC investigator on August 25th, 2022. I had already been examined by a doctor and cleared. It seemed to me they were seeking grounds to terminate my employment on psychological grounds. Throughout my 24-year career, I never had any psychological conditions. My police officer powers were revoked, my badge and gun taken, and I was subject to 3 additional psychological evaluations, despite already being cleared. This brought the total to 4 psychological evaluations. On September 1st, 2022, I, along with 3 other officers, reported what we believed to be fraudulent forms to the Chief of Police. We requested a meeting to discuss these concerns, as we felt these forms constituted felonies under California Penal Code Section 115. However, the chief refused to meet with us. He told us to take our concerns to the Attorney General. California Penal Code Section 115 states, every person who knowingly procures or offers any false or forged instrument to be filed, registered, or recorded in any public office within this state, which instrument, if genuine, might be filed, registered, or recorded under any law of this state or of the United States, is guilty of a felony. After LAXPD refused to take our complaint, we took our concerns to the LAPD and filed a crime report against the Human Resources Director, the LAXPD Chief of Police, the Los Angeles Personnel Director, and the City Attorney, whom we believe were involved in a cover-up of the fraudulent forms. We filed the crime report citing Penal Code Section 115, as we believe they knowingly offered false instruments to be filed in a public office. LAPD took the report, but it was later altered and, to our knowledge, never investigated. I remained at home with no updates until I was ordered to undergo work fitness evaluations on December 20th, 2022 and January 19th, 2023. I complied with all orders and attended the evaluations as directed. However, I asked questions and did not give consent due to the informed consent requirement. I asked why these evaluations were necessary, but they wouldn't provide details. They mentioned it was due to statements I made and behavior displayed on a telephone, yet refused to specify what those were. Under California law, when undergoing a medical evaluation, an individual must give informed consent. I asked the chief numerous times if I was being ordered to give informed consent, but he and his entire command staff refused to answer. Since they did not disclose the purpose of the evaluation, I did not give informed consent, even though I attended the evaluation and complied with all orders. So based on the fact that I did not give informed consent to a medical evaluation that they were not informing me about, I was charged with insubordination. Additionally, on January 24th, 2023, I gave notice that the chief of police and the EEOC investigator were acting in retaliation to deprive me of my rights under color of law. Then on March 14th, 2023, I gave them notice that I intended to sue them and provided a notice regarding qualified immunity. They took my right to give them notice to sue them and deemed it to be a threat. I believe that there was a concerted effort to deprive me of my rights. The chief of police, the EEOC coordinators, the city attorney, and the Los Angeles Airport Human Resources seemed to be working together. Based on these circumstances, my refusal to give informed consent without proper information and sending notices of intent to sue, they charged me with insubordination and making threats, even though it was my right to give such notices. It is disheartening to see my efforts to address what I believe were serious issues met with such resistance and retaliation. I stood up for what I felt was right, only to face unjust consequences. On March 11, 2024, my employment was terminated. While this chapter ended abruptly, I remain committed to seeking justice and holding those responsible accountable for their actions. I'm sharing my story in the hope that it sheds light on the obstacles whistleblowers can encounter.